Thank you. We're back for our next departmental budget discussion. I would like to acknowledge that Councilman John Cooper has joined us for this budget discussion. I'm Mayor David Briley. I'm joined by the city's finance director, Talia Lomax O'Neill, to my left, and the chief of staff for the mayor's office, Emily Pacini, who's to my right. I'm going to forego an initial discussion about the pay plan and the metro budget, since that does not apply to your employees, and ask you, Charles Starks, to introduce yourself and your colleague who's joined you, and then if you'll give your presentation, we may have a few questions at the end.
It's our pleasure, Mayor. So yes, good morning. Charles Starks, President and CEO at the Music City Center, and I'm joined on my left today by Heidi Runyon, our Director of Finance, who every year Talia reminds me that we got from the Department of Finance at Metro. So thank you again, Talia, each year when I see you. Yeah, absolutely awesome. So yeah, just some brief comments today, Mayor, and just run through a few things I think has been going on since we were here a year ago and talked through the Convention Center Authority. I think the bright news for us is business continues to be at an all-time high. And so the groups that we've got booked out into the future, we've got, since opening, we've had a little over 1,700 groups that have been with us that's come into the city, about over $2 billion in direct economic impact back to the city since opening in 2013. So just kind of put that in perspective, about $957,000 a day that folks coming to the convention center are spending in Nashville. And so we think that from our mission and what we're trying to do to bring people to town, spend all their money, have enough to get home, and then hopefully leave us and go back somewhere else. So that's our goal as we look forward. Future bookings, we currently have out to 2030. So we have signed contracts out to 2030 and proposals out as far as 2036. Now, I do not expect to be here to greet those individuals in that capacity when they arrive in 2036, but we're certainly going to keep going and looking forward there. I want to talk on just a few of our initiatives and what we're doing from a social responsibility. I think most are aware of some of our gold lead status that we have from an environmental standpoint, and I think most have heard us talk about rainwater and some of the things that we're doing there to collect that and reuse it throughout the facility. But this year, just to touch on a couple of points, we were the first convention center in North America to be REAL certified, which is what we're doing in food purchasing, what we're doing with local farmers and merchants in our area, and what we're doing from sustainability practices with composting and all. And so we achieved that, and it was time for recertification, which we have just received. So we're very proud of that. So what we're doing sustainably wise in food and beverage. And I think it's a real testament to our team and what all we've been able to accomplish, but certainly being the first in North America and then being recertified just this year. We also were awarded by the U.S. Green Building Council on our rainwater reuse, and so we won a governor's award this year for that. And so continue what we're doing there from an environmental standpoint of rainwater. And we've got the electric car charging stations and what we're doing with solar panels and the like, but that most are aware of. Also want to spend just a couple of minutes, if I may, and talk about some of our community involvement around metro schools. And we've continued, as everybody's read and heard, workforce development is a key for the hospitality industry in Nashville. And so we've certainly done our part in working through the academies in Nashville and been involved there, and I'm involved in a couple of committees with schools. But our partnership with Hunters Lane High School, and so we have 8 students that come each month and spend a day with us in job shadowing, and then we have some teachers doing externships with us in the summer. They even invite me out once a year to go speak to some 9th graders. That's kind of scary for the 9th graders, probably, so apologize to those when that happened back in the fall. But so as we continue to move forward them, and then we also host every year the 9th grade career day at the Music City Center. So one day a year I get to tell Dr. Joseph that we have the largest school in Metro. So we brought this last year over 6,000 of them in, and we're doing that again this next year with them. So continue moving forward there, what we're doing with schools, and then just nonprofits in general. I mean, one of our community statements when we were building the facility and talking about is we wanted to be a home for a lot of nonprofits and what they could do and come doing events, and we continue to move forward there. Our board, when they adopted our budget back a few weeks ago, certainly our operational budget and what they did, but what we also looked at was from a capital investment and what we're seeing for the long term for the Music City Center. And what we identified is that this going forward for this next fiscal year 20 is that we have approximately $17 million in capital that we'll be spending, And just a couple of things I want to kind of touch on there. A couple of those are things I'll talk about in just a moment. But one of them in particular is that we have continued, I know it's hard for people to believe, being open 6 years now, we have a continual lack of space issue that we face, and where it's in meeting rooms and ballrooms in particular. And so our board approved a few weeks ago for us to develop and started on a master plan for the Music City Center. One of the things that we said when the building was being considered and then constructed is we never wanted to get in a position like we were with the old Nashville Convention Center, that we didn't have a plan and what we're looking forward to move forward with. So we'll be undertaking that in relatively short order here over the next year and working on what should the future of the Music City Center look like. Certainly feedback from our customer groups and talking with our clients and saying what else is it we need as we look forward. So you'll more to come about that over this year. That's relatively fresh news to share with you. And then we're going to continue with one other investment that we've talked about before, and that's we are currently under contract, and the board has approved an additional land purchase between 4th and 5th on Lafayette and Elm that we have previously had some conversations about. We have bought a couple of parcels up there. We have under contract a third relatively large parcel. Assuming that closes here in the next month or so, which we anticipate, our immediate need for that space is for marshaling and parking, additional parking. But we've had, as I know you're aware, Mayor, a number of conversations with MTA or WeGo, and where we think in the long term, I'm still working on WeGo, so tell Steve that one to see him, but that we've got a number of conversations and what we think ultimately looks like a great location for MTA to have a southern downtown transit hub. And so we will have, other than one parcel of that land, all of that is under contract. We'll own it by the end of April, it appears. So continue to move forward there. Want to just briefly touch on the 5th and Broadway. We were real we've got a parking garage, and I know that y'all are aware that we're funding in that area. What I really want to remind is kind of looking back in history of that project is when 5th and Broadway was announced and they started working on that, and the city was working through the RFP and some of the work that was done there. One of the components in order to make that happen was that they needed this parking garage. And so I'm proud the Convention Center Authority was able to step up at that time and fund getting that garage built. We certainly did not do that because we thought we needed another parking garage for the Convention Center Authority. So it's part of our commitment to Metro and helping get that project moving forward. And so now it appears that they're certainly moving forward very quickly. They're actually tearing out some concrete now for a new tenant they've got coming. But so we're proud to be partnering there with the city and also with the developers getting that ready to take over. And then just lastly, certainly as y'all are aware, our commitment we made for Metro last year for y'all for what you saw fit, and to have that amended agreement and to be able to help some more this next year is really something that we're very proud of and honored to be part of that as we do our community due diligence. So, and then certainly I think that covers everything I just wanted to briefly talk about. And any questions, happy to entertain those.
Give me just a moment.
Talia's speechless. Can we get that document in the minutes?
I'm not speechless.
No, I know, yeah.
Go ahead.
Talk just a little bit about what trends we've seen in bookings at the convention center.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to, Emily. What we have seen with is we've seen all the cranes up for hotel development, and we've got about 5,000 rooms in the pipeline right now in the kind of immediate downtown area. And what we're really seeing, and I think we'll have answered that question, Emily, is that some of these larger scale projects going up, such as the Grand Hyatt, the Embassy Suites, the JW, which recently opened, the Tri-Brand Marriott recently opened, the Drury that's coming, is that those are large enough hotels, the W that's coming over in the Gulch, that we're able to go out from a booking trend. And while we first opened the building and started, we were looking at groups that obviously we could try to accommodate in a reasonable distance to the Music City Center. Well, what that left us out was that we had a lot of customers talking to us that said, look, we'd love to come to Nashville, but you know what, we need, in our industry, we refer to, well, how many rooms do you need on a peak night? So what night do you need the most room numbers? And so what we saw in the first few years of being open was that those groups that needed 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 rooms on peak nights said, we really want to come to Nashville. We'd love to be there. However, I'm going to be in 30 hotels to do that, and that's just not feasible for us. So what we're seeing now in the booking trends is that we're able to go back and retouch and revisit with those customers and say, now let us tell you what the package, because those are the groups that are booking in 25, 26, 27. Most of those are not booking in 20 or 21 at this point. And we're able to show them what's happening, because meeting planners, our customers, really want to see a hotel under construction. They won't buy because you say there's something going to come. They've seen too many deals go south. So what we've seen the trend change is now those customers are really re-engaged and wanting to come to Nashville, Emily. And so we're able to say, look, we can now get you, and it may be 10 or 12 hotels, but it's not 30 hotels. So we've seen that as a big change in the booking trend. And then the kudos to our team. I mean, we've got an outstanding team of our team members at the Music City Center. And so over our 5.5 years of history now, the word of mouth and what we've got. So our best sellers right now are our former customers. And so we're seeing them talk to planners. And we actually was in D.C. a few weeks ago where I took one of our former customers to meet a new prospective customer to say, let's tell you what our experience was in Nashville. But the hotel rooms have certainly helped with that, and we're seeing booking trends. And I think that's why we're seeing now some of these outlying years that we're being very strong in.
To accept the challenge.
It was not a challenge. No, ma'am, was it not a challenge? So,
I'm gonna jump back to page 4.
okay.
And where you have your stats around the DBE participation. The mayor recently signed an executive order that was pretty important around LGBT certifications and accepting those. Are you guys looking at that and trying to figure out exactly how you can connect with that population and how to track the activity down there at the convention center?
Yeah. Let me say, once the mayor signed the executive order, one of the things that we had a conversation, and we've only had one board meeting since that occurred, and at that board meeting, we had a brief conversation about us and our director of purchasing getting around the executive order and requirements there to come back to we have a committee structure for the board, and to come back to that committee in relatively short order to come back with some recommendations we would make. We certainly think that's very, something we want. We've been a leader, we believe, in the DBE from the construction to certainly what we're doing operationally today. So no, we have extreme interest in trying to move forward there. So now the board's tasked us with getting some information around that and be able to come back to them in the future. So
Okay, I think we'd like to follow up on that.
Yeah, so I think it's, I mean, y'all certainly are leading by example. We want to be right there.
Okay, and just because I can't resist, everybody's talking about the NFL draft and all of these events happening. What's going on at the Convention Center Authority during those same few days?
We are we're real boring during that time. We're going to register about 30-something thousand marathon and half marathon runners. We have two other conventions in the building at that time, and so when the first initial conversations with the NFL was going on, they were talking to us about an opportunity in 19 or in 20. We were really looking at 20, and the days before everybody knew we were looking at this, because we had some space available to be able to accommodate a couple of the things. When the NFL chose 19, we do not have any space available. So the building is full. We're doing a couple of back office events for them. It would be stuff the public would never see. But no, unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. Fortunate, we were full, so we couldn't accommodate them. It's not nothing about that's unfortunate. So, but yeah, but we'll be spectators along with most of the others. I'm sure a few people will park with us. But
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming today. I appreciate it very much. You and I and your board chair and I have had a chance to meet in the last few months to talk about the MOU, and I appreciate getting the lawyerly briefing on both the capacity and limitations in that regard. It certainly, I'm sure, when it was contemplated, when the financing was contemplated, I think nobody would have anticipated exactly how successful it would be, but it certainly gives us an opportunity going forward to utilize some revenues that would not otherwise come to us, to make sure that when the original debt is paid off, we still got a fantastic facility there to utilize for the future. Utilizing and doing that with revenues that otherwise would not have come to us at all, which is an important thing for us all to remember. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.